All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It is 4:01 p.m. on Tuesday, September 13th, 2022, and we will bring this Personnel Human Services Committee meeting to order. We'll take roll call, please.
Johnson?
Yes.
Krieger?
Yes.
Fox?
I'll make a motion to excuse.
McGee?
Here.
Coonan?
Here.
Radke?
Here.
Here?
Here.
For that motion to excuse, do we need a second on that? I'll go ahead and second that.
Okay.
I don't think you can.
Oh, well. Anybody else?
Sure.
I will. I'll
All right.
support.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go.
I don't think you can. but you-
He can, you can.
There we go. So now we got it taken care of appropriately. It just took us a while. All right, we'll look at the minutes of October 9th, 2022.
So moved.
Support. Moved and supported. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and the minutes are in the record. All right, now comes a time for public input. If anyone from the public would like to come forward and speak, please state your name, sign in on the board, and try and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less if you can.
Keith Markstrom, 1383 North Jones Road. I'm still honored to serve as the president of Bay Veterans Foundation. I'd like to make a couple of comments regarding one of your agenda items today regarding ARPA funding. You know, as we all know, the Bay Area Community Foundation was tasked with the order of distributing ARPA funds totaling $750,000 that had been moved by this body, including a $250,000 grant request that Bay Veterans Foundation had asked for in June of 21. Several weeks ago, there was a virtual presentation made where we started to learn of the guidelines for those funds. And there was an in-person meeting held at the end of August. These guidelines also now include a letter of intent to be filed with the Community Foundation to determine if our organization is eligible to receive ARPA funds. We submitted that today. Staff there have about 2 or 3 days which to review, and then we'll get back to organizations to say whether or not you qualify or not, which means then we've got about 7 days perhaps in order to apply for the deadline of September 22nd. That's when all grant applications need to be received. So the review of these applications then will take place October with referral by whatever committee to the full board for action in November, which means then funds for whomever is successful in applying will not get any until December. So I just want to set a time frame for the urgency, hopefully, of approving this matter before you today. We've heard that some on this board might be opposed to funding to Bay Veterans Foundation because other veterans have urged a no, that they're opposed to the project. If this refers to a small handful of veterans who typically are disgruntled and complain about a lot of things, we think that's hardly a reason to deny funding that's going to have a positive impact on thousands of veterans in our community and potentially many, many more of our youth and civilians. We have letters of support from about 30 community organizations, and this had been submitted with our grant application 1.5 years ago. The first to sign on in support of this project was American Legion Post 18, the Bay County Veterans Council representing the AMVETS, Disabled Veterans of America, Military Order of the Purple Heart, VFW, the PLAV, Vietnam Veterans of America, the Marine Corps League 1423, and at the time, the Bay County Soldier Sailors Relief Commission. Additionally, this body has gone on record on March 13th of 2018. In passing a resolution that in part says, whereas the primary goal of the Bay Veterans Foundation, which was formed to provide options for local veterans to improve their daily lives and build a future not based on handouts, is to provide better networking and information about federal, state, and local services available, and to bring more attention to veterans' needs in the Bay Area. And whereas the Bay Area Veterans Center will not only assist those veterans who qualify for Soldier and Sailor Relief Funds, but also the larger group of those who do not fall within the guidelines. And whereas the Bay Veterans Foundation is seeking grant funding to achieve their goals with the intent of supporting veterans' needs and issues, therefore be it resolved that the Bay County Board of Commissioners offers their support for establishment of Bay Area Veterans Makerspace Activity Center to serve Bay County veterans, and urges approval of solicited grant funding that will bring this project to fruition and future growth. Signed by Thomas Herrick, Chair. Present at that meeting, which vote was 7-0 in favor, were Commissioners Ernie Krieger, Vaughn Begic, Kim Coonan, and Tom Herrick. I just wanted to file that with the committee for record. Thank you. We really encourage your support today.
Thank you. Anyone else? If you could please sign in, Carol. There you go.
I'd like to say something about his project that he's got going on. Right now, there's really no place for a veteran to hang out without it being a bar. I would like to be able to go someplace that's not a bar. I don't drink, okay? Not because I'm an alcoholic or anything like that. I just choose not to drink, okay? And being a female, I'd like to be able to go someplace that I'm not around a bunch of people that are drinking and getting rowdy, cussing and swearing and everything else, okay? I have changed my life. I'm not that person I used to be, and I prefer to be around people that are not telling dirty jokes, getting really drunk, and being obnoxious. But there's no place for us veterans to hang out. We have 8,000 veterans here in Bay County, right? Around that, give or take. And there are a lot of us that they have no place to go except for a bar. And veterans have the highest rates of alcohol and drug abuse. So they have no place to go to hang out with our brothers and sisters, okay? I know a lot of people that used to go to the American Legion, AMVETS, and other places, but they realized they had an alcohol or drug problem. They're not there anymore. And there's no place for them to hang out unless they go to a bar. That's all we have, our bars. He's given us an opportunity to go sit, have a drink, have a coffee somewhere, and hang out together with our fellow brothers and sisters. Our community is different from other communities, okay? We don't look at each other as friends. We have different needs. We are brothers and sisters. We've been through something that you will never understand. We don't expect you to, but sometimes we just need to talk with somebody that can understand us. It may be a different war, different conflict, but we'll still understand each other. And that's why there's such a big alcohol and drug problem. You know, we just want to be able to relax, drink a coffee sometimes, and talk to each other. Laugh, joke, tell stupid jokes, and mess around with each other, goofing around. But we don't have that right now. He's given us that opportunity. Okay? Yeah, we can be jerks, we can be ignorant, but we're brothers and sisters. Only we can understand each other. So that's about all I got to say about that.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one, we'll move on to petitions and communications. We'll get started with a corporation council's rescission of the resolution 2022-66 seeking to rescind. Proposed resolution has been attached.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Mr. Begay.
Just wondered if we had any discussion. I know Mr. Van Tol is here, and hopefully we've talked to him about this ahead of time.
Yes, he has been made aware. He's been back and forth through emails, and I'd imagine he knew this was coming up tonight, so if he's not here, I'd imagine he's probably busy doing one of the 500,000 other things he does do, but and basically the communication was, once it went through Corporation Council, it was determined that the only way that you could give money for them to go ahead and build that building was if our name was on the deed. And I don't even think that was possible through New Hope Bay, because you have to parcel off your property. And they've already done that, I believe, once, and you only have so many times you can do that. So
I was at the Michigan Work Conference, and childcare is a big issue for getting women back to the workforce. Men have returned pretty much pre-pandemic, women not so much, and a lot of it's the childcare thing, and they're working on the state level. There's federal state funding coming down. So hopefully they can find funding elsewhere for this project.
well, that'll be the next thing. So it will. And are there any other discussion about the rescission? All right. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And now we'll move on to item B. Child care funds reallocation of the ARPA funding, seeking reallocation of those $300,000 in ARPA funding to the Bay Area Community Foundation. Proposed resolution is attached. You did also, within that attachment, there was the analysis of child care in Bay County that was there for people to kind of peruse. I know last time Commissioner Fox was wondering about the data, and this was something that was supposed to come up in the springtime, and it's now completed.
I'll move it.
It's been moved.
Support.
Support? Any discussion?
Oh, go ahead.
One other point I had, there's a TRICARE program that's sort of coming around the state with the employer, the person working there, and then some other funding that comes in, and it's, I'm sure it'll be in this area pretty soon, but it's a way to get that, care that they need with a little skin in the game. I mean, they have to put the money in too. So.
No, I believe, Vaughn, that actually is in our area already, and that was a program that was started through the governor, where the family pays a third, the workplace pays a third, and then the government, through some of those ARPA dollars, pays another third. And so it kind of makes it a little bit more affordable. But they have to fit within, I think it's like the 250 to the 300% of the poverty level, somewhere in between, where there are people who, they're in that Alice range where they can work, but they'd be working to pretty much pay for childcare. And so this lightens that load a little bit. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I know if you had the opportunity to go ahead and look at that analysis of childcare that was done, it indicated that within Bay County, there is a service gap of approximately 1,307 children. Now, if you wanted to look at licensed slots where quality rating was at least 3 stars, now you're looking at a gap of 2,524 licensed slots. That's quite a gap. And then they had, there's graphs and indicators of the various places that we all represent and where those biggest gaps are. The governor even came through recently and increased the caps on how many students you can, or children you can have in your in-home daycares. And in some cases, some of these buildings aren't even at capacity, but they can't take any more children, and there's wait lists because they don't have enough staff to be able to service the children that they have. So, the Bay Area Community Foundation has said that they would be willing to distribute these funds, both for nonprofit and even for-profit daycares, to be able to, and there's a variety of different things that they could apply for in those grants if we so choose to go ahead and reallocate those to them to distribute throughout the county instead of just one place. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and we'll move that forward. All right, our next item under B is number 2, Bay Veterans Foundation Workshop Project.
I'll move it.
Support.
Moved and supported. Discussion. Mr. Herrick, go ahead.
So I'm just kind of curious, we talked about this before, and like when we did this some months ago, you know, we sent the money that was supposed to, that we talked about this project over to the community foundation, that amount, because we were going to give them 500, we gave them 750. And, you know, we're bringing this back again. And since that time, you know, we had the NAACP, we had Monroe Township, you know, who we denied, we had City of Auburn, who we denied. And the first group that came into us that had their paperwork, the first group that brought their paperwork into us was the City of Essexville. And that's not my area, but they wanted to redo their lead lines, and we said, no, you can't have the money for this. I believe they're the first one. Were they not, Matt? Did the City of Essexville come in with a project for ARPA funding?
They did submit a request.
So we denied them too. And now, after we denied this one, we're revisiting. And I understand that, but I still don't know where the money's going. And so the couple questions I need answered is, number one, how much money have they collected already from all the, you know, from the state of Michigan, maybe from the Dow Foundation, the Gerstacker Foundation, and any other foundation, and where this money's, how it's going to be used? Because at one time we asked the question about programs and how long it was going to be open. We didn't know that. There was just a lot of questions. More questions than answers is what we had. So, where are we at?
Well, I can't answer all of your questions, but what I can answer is, you know, we had the original proposals
Yeah.
within the time. And you're right, Essexville was one who put one in. And it was one in here that when we were given recommendations, that was one that was not recommended for funding before the group that brought them in. It was one that was like $100,000, I think, for lead line replacement. That was in this one.
We didn't
right?
recommend any of those other ones. I understand that.
Yep.
So,
And Banker Township wanted
600.
fiber. This list. Things that were funded, things that were not funded, what was partially funded, what was not partially funded. Of the 501c3 groups, I think the NAACP put something in, Bay Veterans Foundation put something in, New Hope Bay put something in. New Hope Bay and the Veterans Foundation came in and did their presentation.
On time.
On time, got their stuff all in, did what they were supposed to do, did what they were asked. The allocation for the Bay Community Foundation came in then after, I believe Crime Stoppers came in. Then the NAACP came in after the allocation for the Bay Community Foundation. But all I know is That's my thinking. We had groups that followed the protocol that was put forth towards the beginning. They got their stuff in on time, they did what they were asked to do. They came in and gave a presentation, it was voted on.
So how much money have we collected so far? How much has the Bay County given them money already?
I have no idea about
Has
that.
Bay County given them money already?
Bay County given who money?
To this project?
I believe there was an allocation in 2018.
Or how much?
From the Soldiers and Sailors Relief Commission, a payment of $75,000 and another of $50,000.
How much?
$75,000 and $50,000, two separate amounts.
Okay, 75,000. Okay, and how much has this, maybe he can come up and answer the question, how much have you gotten from the state so far?
300.
I know you have all these answers.
This last year, we received $300,000 from the state general fund.
Is that the total amount you'll get from the state?
That's the total amount that we've received from the state.
How about the Dow Foundation?
The Herbert Grace Dow Foundation denied us a $100,000 grant request. Stacker has come through in multiple. All this information you have on file, I can submit to you again tomorrow, or I'm going to pull off the top of my head. So we've received about $900,000 total from various sources of funding up until this date. Our project initially started out about $480,000, and when the contaminated soil and asbestos was found, it moved it up to about $1.2 million. The $250,000 that were requested a year ago, June, from the county would take us over, would fully fund the project that we could start occupancy and run programs. I can give you a detailed breakdown.
So if you got this money from the county today, are you still going to the community foundation for money?
Well, we've been encouraged by the county itself, because they will only allocate up to $50,000. And if the county appropriates a full $250,000, we won't go to them. We will go to them for other programming funds. I've already talked to Joni King about Alzheimer's funds and so on, because we have veterans who are starting to show up who are showing dementia. So now we are into the program phase, but we've got to get the building open and occupied.
So you won't go there for the same type of money you're looking for here?
Yeah, exactly. The last 4 applications that we made to the Bay Area Community Foundation were denied. We received from the Community Foundation advised funds, the Ostelder and Squires. We received funding.
So do they tell you why they deny them?
No. You know, Tom, you were on that board.
I do.
It's a general, your project is great, we don't have enough resources, et cetera. And when you try to pin down, you really don't get the answers. And understandably, I understand that. But it doesn't do us, it doesn't do any organization good if you don't really know why. So, and it's like any group. There are those who are opposed to certain things and those who are in support. And it just comes down to a matter of vote.
Oh, I can say that from my time on the board, the reason most places get denied is for lack of information. And so that's just my experience of my 6 years there. So a lot of places don't get it, that's why.
Well, we've supplied all the information that's ever been asked. We've amended, we've jumped through every hoop that they've requested or this group has requested. And why it's not approved, I don't know. I don't know. I don't sit on that board.
And they didn't tell you from the Dow Foundation either?
It's the same boilerplate language. And in talking with personnel from the Dow Foundation afterwards, it's a matter of who do you know on the board that can make the connection for you. That's just how the world works. We all know that.
And so this money just going into building or programs, or what's it going for?
Well, you know, there's real confusion still in the interpretation of the ARPA legislation. The county, or the city, appropriated $190,000 which went to capital improvements. But it couldn't go for sidewalks and sewer and that kind of thing. There is a stipulation against that by ARPA funds. That's where the state funding, the $300,000 came in, because they actually encouraged us to put it towards physical improvements on the land so we could use it for sidewalks. ARPA funds, though, from the city were used to rebuild the west wall, the block and the brick. That was okay. What's the difference between that and a sidewalk? Interpretation. So we understand now, according to the language that's being put forth by the Community Foundation, they want to see more in programming and put a cap of $5,000 on capital items. So we need physical capital money still. But if it's for programming, we will then be able to start programming. And the funds that the Community Foundation is releasing can't be for anything that was affected before November of 2022. It's got to be for things after November of this year. So you can't go back and bill for utility bills or other things, even though you may have suffered from lack of revenue prior to November. So it's a matter of interpretation, and I understand the language by reading this resolution, that how we could use the funds for our building or programs would be determined after approval by this body, by council or outside council. I think that's the last statement on the resolution.
Commissioner Kuhn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've got this project that is close to completion, and the money that we will provide to them will get them to start to open their doors to help veterans. As Carol mentioned, it's more than just going in and have a cup of coffee. These guys want to give veterans some training so that they can go out and get a job. It's more than giving them a handout. You want to give them an education, give them something that they can do in order to be useful in society, which they all want to do. You can't get that at some of the places that exist right now. So I've been for this from day one. I mean, why would we not want to use taxpayers' dollars to help our veterans? And they took this building down here that was probably, well, I know it was an eyesore, and turned it into a very nice piece of property that is going to help people. So why in the world we are discussing this a year down the road, where we can just give them the money from the federal government that we all pay to get the doors open, to help people. And it's not only helping veterans, but veterans, I've talked to Keith, and the veterans are going to help kids in the community. To me, that is the wisest use that we could use for these dollars. And then going back to what Commissioner Herrick said, I think last meeting we had, we allocated Bangor money to take out that, or we're going to.
I don't know if you're going to, but you absolutely did not.
Well,
600,000.
Yeah, Bangor and Auburn and Monitor. They came here and we got money that, well, we talked about it anyway, right?
You talked about it, yes.
All right. And I guess if we have to put that in the form of a resolution, we'll do that. And so Bangor got some money from the ARPA, Auburn for their lift station, and Monitor for a water line under the highway. So I don't have a problem if, I'd like to know if we aren't at that point yet. We discussed it, but we can get at that point at the next meeting, so.
I was just going to say, those were requests but never approved.
Okay, all right, good. Then we can put them in the form of a resolution for the next meeting then. But I think it's good money spent as well, helping the townships who came here as well and requested money. But I'm all for it, and I think we need to, who'd ever thought that people give you $20 million and you're fighting over who not to give it to, you know?
Commissioner Beget?
So I haven't voted on this before, but I don't receive any funding, and so I plan to vote on it this time. I've talked to both sides. There is a group of veterans out there that think that it could be spent on some other things, like helping veterans, which we do anyway. We have a Soldiers and Sailors Relief Funds. We do help them that way. There's a fund for that. It comes out of our coffers. We have this extra money. The other issue is that we talked about $250,000 from the foundation. Looks like that's not going to happen. Looks like it's going to be $50,000 at the most. So I have a real concern about that. So, and being a veteran myself, I did compensation and pension physical, saw a lot of PTSD. I think there's some plans to have some counseling at the center. So I think that's a good thing, and it's a place to gather, as Ms. Hill said before. And so I've talked it over with several people, and since I'm going to vote this time, I plan to vote yes for veterans, since I'm a veteran myself. I am the president of the Vietnam Vets chapter, which we did support before, and I'm the American Legion member also. So I think we need to move ahead and get it done. It's a good project. I was a little skeptical at the beginning about how much money is being spent, about all the asbestos and stuff like that, cost overruns, that it would ever get done. It looks like it's going to get done. So I think we need to help them finish it.
And any money that's given away, given out or allocated, which, as you pointed, comes from the federal government, they have to, there's reporting that has to be done, and it has to be taken care of appropriately. All that has to be decided upon with Corporation Counsel when they sign the contract. So all of those things will be taken care of. Thankfully, I don't have to do that part, because I could not. Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Krieger.
I supported this from day one. It should have been done a year ago, so let's vote on it.
All right. Any other discussion? Yes, Commissioner Herrick.
It's not the concept that I oppose, it's the methodology. So, you know, I mean, I have veterans in my family, and so we never seem to know where the money went. That's the problem. So if anyone thinks I don't support veterans, it's not true, because I do. I don't like the methodology that's used. There's a lot of money that's gone into it, you know, and I know before somebody asked the question of when will the doors be open, when will the doors be closed, who's going to pay people? There's a lot of things, a lot of unknowns. But that being said, because I said it, you know, I think they do a lot of good things, you know, and like Vaughn said, you know, that he saw a lot of people in his practice, you know, of the problems they have. I hope, and I don't know, you know, because I thought there's so many things, there's so many questions. I have a list of questions, but I could go on and on, but I don't want us to be here all night either. So that's where I want people to understand. That's where I'm coming from, not the concept, the methodology. That's all I got to say.
All right. And there's a lot of good comments there. I know one of the other things, too, is that one of the biggest issues with this money was that it was supposed to be designed to, you know, in hopes of helping those who were most greatly affected. I can't imagine when there were people that were stuck in their homes with an inability to communicate, that needed to get out and needed to be around. A place like this can help do some good, getting people back, communicating again with one another and back into the community. So, all right. So that being said, any other discussion?
I do. Just
Yes.
to piggyback off of what you mentioned, Commissioner, with the programming, can you further explain in better detail what some of the programming would be to offer these veterans in our community?
Yes. I wish I would have brought my file because we're at we've had 2 planning sessions most recently about programming because we sense the fact that we're getting close to opening and we need to be up and running program-wise before. I think I have a list of about 24 people who have expressed a desire to instruct in different ways. We have an MSW Marine veteran who is going to run a veterans peer-to-peer counseling program on a weekly basis. We have a couple of folks who, one specializes in yoga for PTSD. We have another who just does yoga and meditation. The VA has really bought into different therapies for assisting veterans who are suffering depression, mental health issues. We certainly have 2 handfuls of people who are either master carpenters or graduate from the construction trades program at Delta, who will be teaching bowl making and turning on lathe operations. We have folks who are willing to come in and work with the kids in the neighborhood, showing them how to use hand saws, hammers, pliers, to introduce the concept of woodworking. And then as we pique their interest and show them safety and so on and so forth, progress them to use battery-operated tools and so on. We were contacted recently by Ryan Bone, who is the alternative high school coordinator. He would like to start a class with his kids, some of his kids, in November, the 2nd semester, to come in and have veterans mentor those kids. He indicated that a lot of the students at the alternative high school would like to go into the military, but they don't recognize the fact that you just can't go join in the military nowadays. It's not the draft. People have got to have more than a GED. Marines will not accept somebody with arm sleeve tattoos anymore. It's a different military. But by mentoring with them and encouraging them and helping them in whatever manner, they don't have a shot. When we talked about the Battery Park project here and the history of those replica cannon and the Gold Star Monument, right away he said, I've got to get my history teacher involved so we can do field trips for those kids there. We've talked about, we have a veteran who showed up twice last week and the week before to help caulk the block cracks on the west side of the building. He's developing dementia, and his wife was very concerned about his connecting. He's been a joy. It's been wonderful when he and his wife went through the building to see the excitement in his eyes, and she called me and said, well, how did Steve do by himself? Because she always would drop him off. And I said, he's doing fine. And she said, you had mentioned about a food program. Well, we talked about Soup Group Thursdays, where anybody who's in the building could have a soup and sandwich. And she volunteered to come and cook or make that. There's 2 other ladies who have offered to do that. We talked about TED Talk Tuesdays in our classroom. We have an 80-inch TV that we can do YouTube videos on safety and TED Talks on motivation and whatever. We have 3 people who are interested in providing safety shop talks, as well as teaching how to use table saws and so on and so forth. We're very safety conscious. We have people, we have a gentleman, Mark Stang, who is a 40-year welding instructor at the ISD, at Delta, at Central High School. He's willing to come in and teach basic welding. So those are the kinds of things, Commissioner, and those are just a smattering of the types of things. As Carol mentioned, we still have over 8,000 veterans and 600 are women, and there are no places that the ladies can go that's a safe, welcoming environment. As good of the job that the veteran service organizations do in their own areas of expertise, the Legion and AMVETS and so on, this is not a bar. We will not have alcohol in here unless it's a special event type of a thing, like an opening. So we're looking forward to partnering with a lot of groups. You know, I think I've shared with most of you that the Edson Group is on board. We would like to establish a couple of hoop houses over there. We've talked with our former county treasurer and current county treasurer about use of some foreclosed homes in the Land Bank Authority to be used as learning labs. We've partnered with Habitat for Humanity. Yesterday I met with Tony Bonacek, who runs Bizak Builders, a veteran-owned construction company. So there are so many opportunities that we have that we can have a positive impact in our community. And as I said before, we're veteran-focused and veteran-directed, but we're not totally veterans. There's a larger community that we've got to be concerned about and support that community. So we're excited. It's been a long road, but it's been a tough time for all of us. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, then, how about if we do a quick roll call vote for this one?
Krieger,
Yes.
Fox, excused, Begic,
Yes.
Coonan,
Yes.
Radke,
Yes?
Herrick,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. All right. Now we'll move down to item C, Bay County Sheriff Civilian Deputy Recruit Position.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Commissioner Coonan.
Oh, Troy, I just think it's a great idea, and you were only talking about bringing one in at a time? Yeah, okay. I think it's a great idea to get people acclimated to our system anyway, so good job.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move on to the health officer. They've got a couple of items in there. Item number 1 is renewal of agreement for medical director, seeking approval of renewal agreement with Dr. Thomas Bender, MD.
I'll move it.
Support.
Moved and supported. Discussion.
I do
Commissioner
have a
Krieger.
question. Afternoon, Joe.
Good afternoon.
So the question I have, we're talking about an hourly rate of 140.
Yeah.
Can you tell me from past years how much we pay him annually?
Okay.
What is the expense?
So the budgeted time, and we've been pretty good with this in the past year, is about 16 hours per week on average. During COVID, when it was all hands on deck, Dr. Bender worked anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week at certain times, but generally on the average about 35 hours a week. I don't have in front of me, I don't have the total amount. I can get that to you.
Yeah,
But going
good.
forward.
And he's been with us how many years?
Dr. Bender's been with us since November of 2019.
Okay. Yeah, if you can just give me what we paid him in the past.
Sure.
That'd be wonderful.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move on to item number 2. Authorization for appraisals and build-out analysis for proposed community health and human services center location.
So moved.
Support?
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That moves forward. We'll move on to item E, Director of Recreation and Facilities, budget adjustment for Pinconning Park.
So moved.
Support?
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Krieger.
Yeah, so Kristen, it's terrible that we're losing these trees. Once we get all this taken care of so that it's not a safety issue, are we looking at replanting? Are we going to put some trees back where these were, lost?
We do have to look at that. These trees are very large, so they created a lot of shade for the campsites. We're gonna probably have to work with some people who know trees a little bit better than I do to determine, a lot of them are right along the roadway, so brine gets sprayed on them, trucks and trailers bump up against them, all that kind of stuff. We need to make sure that something is going to be probably native to the park, but also really hardy. So after we get these taken down, it is our plan to look at that. I don't have a plan yet, but it is our plan to look at it.
You know, as you drive down State Park Drive, you know, being associated with the Friends group and stuff, we've gone through some major issues with the trees that we've lost. And we've gone through and have looked at native trees and trying to replace some of them. Now, obviously, it'll be a long time past whatever dates I might have here before those trees become, you know, viable. But I know Bay Landscaping, for an example, worked with the park and the rangers to come up with, you know, the size of the tree to replant. So if we can come up with a game plan, not just for the money to remove these, but to look at maybe for a budget or something in your needs to replace some of these trees, or at least get a count of how many you're going to need.
Right. Yeah, that is definitely something we want to look at, not only like how many we need, but what types, right, like you said.
Yeah.
A couple things to note is that we did submit this to insurance to see if it could potentially be an insurance claim. If that's the case, you might be able to use some of that money to replant. There has been in the past grants available for tree planting.
Yep.
So that is an avenue we can look at.
I think the DNR might have something that would help us.
Laura's office and Jeremy is going to be a really great resource for us too with that. They're really helpful in that whole neighborhood of thoughts, right? So,
I just wanted to plant the seed, no pun intended.
Got it.
Thank you.
You intended that.
Johnny.
All right. Any other comments or discussion or bad puns? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we'll move on to F, Finance Officer, ARPA Revenue Recovery, seeking approval. So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that will move out of committee, and then we'll move to G, the Personnel Director. Item number 1, reclassification of the Public Health Officer / Deputy Public Health.
Support?
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Yes, Commissioner Begay.
At the conference, we talked about some of these positions, how hard they are to fill. Health field is one of those areas. You know, a lot of burnout, people retiring, and so it's hard. And then cost of living and other factors too. But so we need to do what we need to do to get a position filled, I guess.
I agree. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that will move out of committee as well. Now we'll move on to vacancies. 911, juvenile home, youth development worker, cook driver, and the health department public health nurse.
So support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, those will move out. And then we'll move on to the Office of Assigned Counsel, July 2022 report. We need a motion to receive.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and we will receive those. Any referrals? Unfinished business. We're moving on to letter A under unfinished business, the financial analyst position vacancy. Last meeting should have received some data in regards to the people who we looked through their resumes and were asked to score who we would prefer. There looked to be at least 2 candidates. There is some worry over one of the candidates within the grouping had asked for anonymity, so we'll try and keep that from mentioning any names. Anyone have any ideas on how we'd like to move forward with those 2 particular candidates.
How did we do it on the previous one?
I'm sorry, sir?
How did we do it on the previous one?
Previous one, we appointed we simply had an appointment vote on the top point getter.
Well, we're all about process around here, aren't we?
I'd make a motion that the one with the highest score be offered the position.
So this position sort of involves a little politics, I think. I'd really like to talk to both of them to see how politically astute they are, I guess, and see where they're at. You know, we just have numbers, and they were pretty close, too, so. I know there's a motion on the floor, but I'd rather talk to them both.
So are you making an opposite motion?
I don't think I can do that. I could amend this motion, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a motion against Commissioner Coonan.
Well, I don't know. You can talk to people, and I don't think you can ask them if it was Democrat or Republican. I don't think that's legal, right?
I'll think.
But looking at the two, they're both very well qualified. But if we filled a position a particular way, you know, a short time ago, I don't know why we wouldn't want to do it again this time. Sooner or later, you know, whoever this individual is, if they accept the position, they're not going to provide a whole lot of support on the budget, because the budget's coming out in 2 weeks, right? So you're all going to be on your own with the budget. I won't be here next year. I'll miss you all. But, you know, I just want to let you know that when I started, we had under $7 million in fund balance, and today we got $19 million. So good luck on the rest. On the rest. But I don't know why we wouldn't want to. Both are qualified. But, you know, we got to get somebody in here so that they get a general understanding this year on what the budget process is, so they can be a big asset next year, because that's primarily their job, because we all work full-time somewhere, and we're not here day to day. And to understand all of the, I know we have a lot of a continuation budget, but if you're not watching what's going on, you know, you might end up financially, you know, in a situation you didn't want to be in. So I think we should, however you want to do it. To me, we did it a particular way. I don't know why we wouldn't do that particular way now. It's, Juan says it's a political position. I don't think it's a political position.
Knowing people.
Commissioner Herrick, you have something you want to add?
Commissioner Bikic, only because it's a different kind of, it's just a different kind of position. It's just different. And, you know, and he has to be comfortable too. And why not be comfortable? And, you know, it's a big decision, and we're all comfortable, you know, when we found a new DM, we were all very comfortable with that to start with. So he's just saying that he's not comfortable, he wants to see him, and I'm okay with that. You know, it's not like we haven't waited longer. We've waited long. We can wait another month or so. Whatever it takes, I can wait for it.
So we have a motion, but there's been no second. Am I correct? It's not been supported.
I didn't hear one.
No.
Has it been supported?
Did you make the motion?
I made a motion.
Did you support it?
No.
Who made it?
I made the motion.
Then I'll support it. I thought I did support it.
I was trying to listen real close. I didn't hear any support.
Kim supported.
Now it's supported. All right. And obviously, we just had some discussion, so, yes, sir.
So they're both close. I know the one better than the other one, so I don't know the other one at all. So, you know, I would lean, and is the one that got a few less points, though, that they were very close, as I said. So I really would like to at least see the other guy, and so I know what he's about. Whoops.
Commissioner Krieger.
So normally, when we look at individuals for different positions, in the past, and I know that picking up a phone, because everybody has cell phones, and making contact and saying, hey, I'm Vaughn Begic, and I see that you applied for this position. I just have a few questions for you to get a feel for your background and if you're interested in full-time or part-time.
You know, and ordinarily in situations, if we have someone who we're looking to appoint, I know that for appointments to boards, that's what I've done. I'm sure that's what you do. But I believe in this case, that is something that we are not supposed to do. Am I correct?
There is a Court of Appeals opinion that's directly on point, that actually deals with the situation in the city of Bay City, so it's close to home. But if you are going to interview an individual because the board is going to make a determination to hire someone, that interview needs to be in an open meeting. Because the court considered individual contacts with the applicants to be basically sub-interviews and a way to get around the open meetings process, because otherwise you would have had to do it together in a quorum. So there is that case law directly on point that if you do make a determination that you're going to interview, it's going to have to be an interview in an open session.
Point taken.
Thank you. All right, so I guess since it's been supported and there's been discussion, we should probably vote. And in this case, we should probably go ahead and do a roll call vote for this one. Are you ready? Okay.
So what's,
If we would just appoint the person who got the most points.
oh, okay. Thank you.
Begic,
No.
Coonan,
Yes.
Radke,
No?
Hare,
No.
Krieger,
Of course, yes.
Johnson,
Well, I know who I want, but I also know that the other person has to be given an opportunity. I know there's someone here who's not able to vote today, and I'm pretty sure I know how she'd vote. And as you had indicated, even though we'd like to be able to get this filled, I think it'd be important that we try and get it filled as right as possible. And so I'm going to go no.
So do we need another motion?
So we need another motion.
I'll make a motion that we invite the two top candidates with the most points to come in for an interview.
I can support that. Now, I can't.
So moved. I support.
Anybody else want to support Vaughn's?
I do.
All right. So now we've got support there. Discussion amongst anybody else out there? I think we pretty much had it. So how about in that case, we just go ahead, and I think this one we can go ahead and vote. Are you ready? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. Now, the thing that we have to do now, of course, then is invite the two. We have to come up with a date that has to be put out in a public forum. How long do we have to have people in the public? How long do we have to let people know?
Well, for a special meeting,
Right.
it's 18 hours notice of the Open Meetings Act, but under the specific statute dealing with county board of commissioners meetings, you have to give 10 days notice.
So it's 10 days.
10 days.
So if we can reach out to those people and try and come up with a date within 10 days and have a special meeting?
Trust and verify.
We've all done that
Trust and
before.
verify.
And it is also possible if you're considering what questions that you want to ask the candidates, you can have personnel compile a list of applicable questions, and the commissioners can choose from those questions and utilize those at the meeting.
You got inside, you figured.
That would make the other ways way simpler.
Thousands of big ones are just.
750.
Yes.
So
Commissioner
is this
Krieger.
all going to happen before the end of the year?
It's going to happen whenever any of you decide to schedule that up.
January?
Yeah. Or next year.
Let's not do that. So, you want to, no, we can't do it at the next board meeting. There wouldn't be enough time. So, what would be 10 days? Anybody got a calendar?
Are they going to both be here at the same time?
Yeah, there is.
That's what you got to work out, I figure. I don't know.
Separated before, and one
Yeah.
other room there.
There's the 20th and the 27th.
Yeah, there is a 27th.
I mean, based on my sample.
Should we try and do it on the 27th and keep it on a Tuesday? What's everybody doing on a Tuesday? So, shall we invite the two candidates on the 27th? And we'll try and come up with questions by then that we agree upon.
At 4 PM?
4 PM. Might as well keep the time the same too, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, that's the goal then. There we go. Any new business? Commissioner Begic.
Quickly. So the Michigan Works Conference was up at Soaring Eagle, and they're doing a lot of great work. Unfortunately, we're having a little issue with our Michigan Works area, which may come back to the board. Just want to give you a heads up. There's layoffs right now going on. There's like 5 administrative people laid off who are not doing the job they should be doing for the next 3 weeks. They weren't laid off by the Michigan Works Board, they were laid off by our fiduciary. So we have some issues with that. And it may be coming back to us. We have an interlocal agreement, and so we don't know where it's going to go. We may be looking for a new fiduciary down the road, which will require our vote from us for each county. There's 5 counties. We got Saginaw Bay, Midland, got Gratiot, and Isabella. So that may be coming up in the near future. It may not be coming up in the near future.
Yeah.
So, but just a heads up that Michigan Works does a lot of good work. But when people are laid off, they're not doing good work. They're not doing any work at all, and they're not getting paid either. So that's a real problem. So.
All right. Actually, we do have one piece of new business that should be in front of you. The resolution in from Personnel Human Services in regard to Paige Needham.
So moved.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move out then. Any need for closed session? Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Executive
I
Barsham.
was going to speak under announcements. Sorry.
Okay, you're good. Any need for closed session?
There's that.
All right, miscellaneous? Yes, sir. Commissioner
I
Herrick.
just wanted to say that I think that Kristen, you're doing a great job on the greens and the fairways at the golf course. I've heard nothing but rave reviews about the golf course in the last 2 weeks. I mean, everybody says it's the best course in the county.
It is.
I know that, they got 3 inches of rain the other day, so that didn't help today, or especially the back 9. But other than that, they said, everybody says it's the best.
It is.
It's all I keep hearing, it's the best.
Thank you, I appreciate those comments. We have a really hardworking staff, and Jeremy and his staff on the greens, and then Dan's staff inside, they do a really, really good job, and they offer a really great product for, for all of our constituents and stuff, and I believe it's the best golf course in the area. It's great. And, financially, the golf course is having another really wonderful season, so we're pretty proud.
If I could, I want to compliment the staff too. We've got a great team out there. Even the seasonal staff is really dedicated. And we've come a long way in 6 years. I remember when I ran in 2016, the dismay of the condition of the Bay County Golf Course. You had huge spots of dirt on the greens. And so having that with the addition of the 33 million gallon pond is a source for irrigation. I understand the team is irrigating about 7 hours a night, so the fairways and the greens are great. And I know by not touching those golf revenues, it's really made a difference by reinvesting the money back into the course, as opposed to, I think, over 10 years, 1.2 million being diverted from the golf receipts. So it's come a long way, and all the compliments I get are really sincere from the people who go out and use the golf course and appreciate and see the difference. So, yeah.
Just a question. Money diverted, that was indirect, wasn't it? Indirect costs. I don't ever remember us taking money from the golf fund and putting it into the general fund.
It was before my time, but so the golf course pays indirect costs every year based on the study. That's happened every year since
Yeah,
forever.
that's the question I'm asking.
What Mr. Barsha was referring to was a period of about 10 years when golf was really high, that the board passed resolutions to pay for things outside of the golf course.
Outside of what?
The golf course.
I don't remember that.
I can.
Was that before my time?
It's on our balance sheet. It's, I'm going off of memory here, but it stopped in maybe the mid-2000, mid to early 2000. I have it on a spreadsheet. I can send it to you.
No. The golf course pays indirect.
It does, every year.
Ice arena?
No, because it's in the general fund.
I understand. Just wanted to clarify that.
Commissioner Beacon.
So I had a chance to play the golf course last Thursday with the old fast-pitch softball players. They are out there a lot. They would like other people to come out and enjoy that nice golf course. And I even won some money, so I guess I'm a professional golfer now. Even though I didn't golf very good, I had good partners. It was a scramble, so it was
They're
great.
great
It was all green and
Yes.
beautiful looking.
They're a very dedicated, wonderful group that frequents the golf course very often.
All right. Any announcements?
Mr.
Well, wait, I got one. 'Cause
Okay.
Usually I gotta wait. I can't wait. I gotta wait. So, Essexville Garbers girls volleyball. Again, this back-to-back was the Mitten tournament. They've actually defeated Cass City and Frankenmuth, who were both state-rated competition, and took that home for a back-to-back time. So they're looking to make another good run. And oddly enough, it's a lot of the same girls that were here for softball. Not very odd, actually. And the coach is in the same family as the other coach. So lots of good things from there. So, all right.
I think Jim had one more.
Yes.
Yes, I would like to make a bittersweet announcement. Bitter because we're going to be losing a very dedicated and passionate animal rights advocate who transformed our animal shelter in Bay County. Sweet because he's going to have an opportunity to, I think, pursue long-term career goals outside of the county, and he's presented with an opportunity that most of us would take, I think, if the opportunity presented itself. But I'd like to let everyone know Craig will be leaving us as of Friday to assume the city manager position in the city of Essexville, which is a nice step into the next chapter of his stellar career as a public servant. So, Craig, we really appreciate all that you've done since you come on board at the shelter, and all the dogs and cats and pets that have been saved and found new homes, forever homes, and as opposed to, being euthanized. So thank you for the dedication you've shown and the leadership that you've shown uniting the staff at the shelter. And we're going to miss you. We're also happy for you. And Craig has announced he's going to be doing everything he can between now and November to help us sell the public on the millage request that we have to renovate, the shelter out there and bring us into the 21st century in terms of our treatment of animals and our progressive policies in Bay County relative to our pet population.
Thank you. Go right ahead, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Barsha, for your kind comments and remarks. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with Bay County. Made some terrific friendships, and so definitely won't forget it. I still get to work with some people in a different capacity, which is exciting, but thank you to everyone on that side of the room, as well as over here. I've really enjoyed my time here, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
move to adjourn.
There's a move to adjourn. Support. All in favor?
Aye.